thing to write about because people get their backs up when you call other people idiots. And when you call millions of people idiots, you look like you're a bad guy. And certainly you look like you're a liberal elitist if you're calling fine, upstanding, conservative Republicans idiots. But the fact is that over and over, if you look at the poll data, roughly half of Republicans believe things that are not only not true, but they're like impossible to be true. A majority of Republicans believed that Acorn stole the election for Barack Obama in 2008. Now, I would submit you have to be an idiot to believe that. But even if you think that's believable without being an idiot, a majority of Republicans today believe that Acorn is either definitely going to steal the 2012 election for Obama or is planning to steal the election of 2012 for Obama, when in fact Acorn ceased to exist in March 2010.
Now that's really, I mean, that's something that I think we can feel extremely confident. It's impossible for an entity that doesn't exist to do anything. Never mind steal the election.
It's more likely that the Tooth Fairy will steal the election for Barack Obama, because we don't know that the Tooth Fairy exists or not, whereas we know Acorn doesn't exist.
All right, fair enough. So now I hope we should at this point probably, based upon your piece, we should make a point of saying that we have no evidence that the Tooth Fairy is going to do anything. So for any of these people who are listening...
Anthony Weiner's penis might steal the 2012 election. It might not, but it's more likely than Acorn stealing the election, because we know Anthony Weiner's penis exists.
Now, is it simply...
I don't want to go into... No, and then I want to give my other example.
Please.
Because it's not just Acorn. Approximately, I think the figure is 42% of Republicans believe that Barack Obama was born in Kenya. Now, okay, it's a lower percent, or maybe it's 28%. I forget the exact figure. It's in the piece. I could look it up on my computer if you want while we're talking, but it's a lot of people. Now, it's not as high as the more than 50% who believed it in February, but it's awfully high given that the state of Hawaii has published Barack Obama's birth certificate. The extent of the conspiracy that would be necessary to have produced that phony birth certificate in the long form and in the short form, I'm sorry, if you believe that, you're an idiot. Now, these people, not only do they believe it, but they're willing to say it out loud. They're not ashamed of it. So if they're not ashamed to take these positions, you could find, I suppose, a nicer word for it, a word that is less insulting, but I feel like it's the most descriptive word, and I don't feel like there's anything elitist or even all that unfriendly in it. You know, it's looking at to believe these things. Just find me a more accurate term, and I'll use it.
And so we have these are great examples. I mean, one of the things that always struck me on the birth certificate thing was as if like the president of the United States had the ability to forge a short form birth certificate, but for some reason a long form birth certificate that was impossible to forge because those are made out of kryptonite or something, and so the president could guess.
The secret agency inside the CIA said, "Okay, we'll do the short form, but the long form that's just against our."
That's just too hard. That's too hard. Yeah. We don't have that extra paper. We don't have all that extra ink. We can only forge the short form. So yes, I mean it is idiocy, almost by definition, to believe these things. But is it idiocy that leads one to believe these things? In other words, these people, presumably, who believe these things, they can go about their day doing tasks that other people may find, reasonably challenging, or these are people who are not, accidentally going to the gas station and pouring gas all over their car accidentally because they don't realize that it goes into the tank. I mean, these people presumably function in society. If we had 50%, the numbers of people who believe this stuff about Acorn or believed it about the birth certificate, if they function at the level of an idiot in every other aspect of society, society would break down. What accounts for this?
Well, it's true that they may not be, in fact, stupid. They may merely be ignorant. And in fact, some of them are stupid and ignorant, and some of them are just plain ignorant. Now, why are they ignorant? Well, there is an entire structure in the country, I didn't get to discuss this in a 1,000-word piece, that exists for the purposes of making these people more ignorant than they began, for the purpose of keeping them stupid. There are studies that demonstrate the more you watch Fox News, the more misinformation you have in your mind, the less you know. The stupider you become, the more of an idiot you sound like when you talk about politics. So Fox News is an example. Talk radio is at least as bad, if not worse. Rush Limbaugh and Michael Savage, etc. These people are in the business of creating purposeful idiots. They're funded by people who have a large financial interest in keeping people stupid. I'm not sure, idiot might be a strong word for disagreeing with the phenomenon of a man-made global warming, but certainly all the evidence is on the side of it. And unless you're a scientist, it makes sense. Any sensible person would say we should defer to the 99.9% of the scientists who say that it's occurring, rather than the 0.01% of scientists who question it. And yet, because of the funding of the Koch brothers into places like the Cato Institute and the Heritage Foundation and so forth, an entire industry has been created to keep people stupid, so that most Republicans are certain that it's not taking place, so that 19 of 20 Republican Senate candidates in 2010 denied its reality, so that the new nominee for Commerce Secretary is going to be filibustered by the Republicans in the Senate because he was one of the founders of the Environmental Defense Fund, the NRDC, the National Resource Defense Council. It's a very moderate, Republican-oriented environmental organization, but one that accepts scientific data with regard to global warming. So, yeah, it's kind of unfair to the idiots themselves to call them idiots, because what they are is, in many respects, victims of an entire structure that profits from keeping them stupid.
We've got to take a break, and when we come back, I want to move from this idea that there is a machine out there that is creating idiocy. And I want to move from that to talk about the environment that allows this idiocy to grow and flourish. We've got to take a break. We'll be right back after this.